NBA All-Star Game has came and went, and the Philadelphia 76ers are now set to buckle up for the final 28-game stretch of the regular season to see if they have an opportunity to make some noise in the playoffs. Nick Nurse and a couple of notable Sixers players met with Sixers media to speak about expectations for the second half of the season. We have a couple updates to get up to regarding the state of the team. Now, with this Sixers team from start to finish this season, the conversation begins and ends with the status of Joel Embiid. We did get an update from him, or from Nick Nurse, regarding Joel specifically, that said, quote, "Good today. Everybody looked like they had some days off and fresh." Again, I don't think we ever noticed anything. I mean, he was a full participant. We went at it pretty hard, pretty long. I guess we always got to wait to see how it turns out. Probably in the morning's usually the first checking point, but he seemed okay today. He seemed like he was moving good and practiced very hard today. Tyrese Maxey joined Embiid on the sidelines in Brooklyn as he was a full participant in practice. The only Sixers who did not participate were Eric Gordon with his right wrist, Kyle Lowry with his right hip, and of course Jared McCain, who is out for the season. As for Justin Edwards, the rookie did sprain his left ankle during practice, which will be something to monitor as the Sixers prepare for the Celtics on Thursday. So obviously not great news with Justin Edwards. That has been one of the bigger bright spots on the Sixers team, and a guy who I think will probably continue to start at least until one of the Quentin Grimes or Lonnie Walker or Jared Butler, probably not even Jared Butler in this conversation here, but earns the opportunity to take it from him. Edwards seems to be a Nick Nurse type of player and is obviously making the most of his opportunity to this point. Now, as far as the Joel Embiid conversation, that unfortunately sticks to the theme of the season. It is great to hear that he's out there, that he's moving around, that he's a full participant, and it does seem like the Sixers went to pretty clear lengths to make it clear that they are not shutting things down for the season, that they intend on making as much noise as possible and trying to get your ticket into the dance, into that play-in, and into the playoffs to ultimately do some damage there. Whether that is possible is a whole separate conversation, but it is very clear at this point that that is the intentions of the organization. Now, Nurse did continue on and shed a little bit of light on the identity of the team that he expects moving forward, as well as a recent addition that seems to be set to play a larger part than maybe we initially realized, with that being Quentin Grimes. And Nurse said, quote, "Especially with Q, just how can we use him?" Nurse said on Tuesday. "He's got pretty good speed off the screens and some vault up ability, and we're just tweaking some of our stuff to get him involved in some stuff like that. Then again, I'm leaning on him to be one of our better perimeter defenders. He's going to have a tough assignment every night, and we're just going to try and get him a notch there in his physicality and his ball pressure and moving his feet and all that stuff. Grimes has the ability to be a great perimeter defender for Philadelphia. He can put pressure on opposing ball handlers, make excellent reads off screens, and has a high basketball IQ in terms of his defensive instincts. Combine that with his three-point shooting ability and being able to get to the basket, and the Sixers are feeling pretty good about their new addition." Now, the early returns on Quentin Grimes have been fairly impressive there. Obviously, there are bigger storylines with this Sixers team, but I will say once again, he is a guy that is exceeding my early expectations, and I would say most importantly here, he's got a lot to play for. He's going to be a restricted free agent at this deadline, and I think that was one of the themes of what Daryl Morey has brought in. There are a lot of hungry dogs on this Sixers team. Quentin Grimes playing for a future contract. Jared Butler getting his first opportunity at a standard NBA deal. Lonnie Walker being saved from overseas, having another chance at the NBA. And we've seen what that kind of, trajectory has impacted a guy like Ersan Yabusele, who has clearly made the most of the opportunity this year and certainly changed the trajectory of his career moving forward as a result of this. Now, with Quentin Grimes specifically, it does seem like he's going to be tossed to the fire and asked to be the guy that can be their top tier perimeter defender. It's a little bit surprising to me, but I am kind of excited to see if he can handle it. And that's one of the things the Sixers will very clearly be monitoring and evaluating for his long-term fit with this organization as well. But defense was a theme across the board for Nick Nurse and was asked a little bit about the expectations, which I did want to add on here. Nurse is right about that. Philadelphia's transition defense has been a hit or miss all season as opponents have taken full advantage of any mistakes made by its offense. If the Sixers turn the ball over, opponents are going the other way with it. That would be a big help in turning things around. Quote, "Our transition defense has been up and down," Nurse finished. "We got to get that solidified. Rim protection, shot contest, defensive rebounding, lots of little things. It's kind of gone up and down, but we got to get back to the focus of just trying to develop some type of defensive identity with the guys we got here, no matter who it is, and that's kind of where we started." And to continue on that a little bit more, we do have this quote here that says, "As far as the Sixers as a whole, Nurse worked his team out hard on Tuesday. His focus is to make sure his team understands everything from square one as they look to make one final push in this stretch. Quote, well, we still, again, have to get some of the basics where we started defensively. First of all, I think just, again, trying to work on, we showed some of the stuff, the things that we're doing well. We showed them some stuff of the things that we weren't doing well. So we kind of dug in right away, and the things that we need improvement, a lot of it always starts in transition. And this is an interesting focus to me. There tends to be sort of this debate internally between a basketball team when thinking about the style you'll play, that you're either a team that aggressively crashes the glass, that you're competing for offensive boards, trying to create additional possessions, or you're a team that is more focused on getting back on defense, cutting out transition opportunities, preventing opponents from scoring. That's kind of the battle. That think about just the logistics of, if there's a shot that goes up and I'm chasing it hard for an offensive rebound, I'm not going to be in the position to get back on defense at a super high rate here. For Nick Nurse teams historically here, and primarily the Raptors rosters that I'm speaking about, they somehow found ways to be excellent at both of those things. They were good offensive rebounding teams and also very effective at preventing transition opportunities. When looking at this current Sixers team, it's been the opposite, that they're bad at both those. They don't get offensive rebounds. They've been a really bad offensive rebound, a bottom 10 offensive rebounding team, I believe even bottom 5 offensive rebounding team during the entirety of Nick Nurse's tenure. And when the transition opportunities are also popping up as an issue, that is a problem from a team standpoint here. Now, for Nick Nurse specifically, I'm a little bit frustrated with the style of defense that he continues to lean on. He clearly has embraced this style of, switchable, versatile defenders, that he wants to throw multiple bodies at guys, force guys to make passes, and force turnovers really being the primary focus of the defense. I understand that when you have the guys like Chris Boucher, guys like prime Kyle Lowry, guys like Kawhi Leonard that are able to switch all across formations here, don't quite feel that way when we're talking about Quentin Grimes, Jared Butler, and Tyrese Maxey sort of flying about here, with all due respect to each of those guys. So I've been a little bit frustrated with sort of not changing his style based on the personnel, but the reality is that is the direction that he believes this team needs to lean into to win the most, and that's what I expect to see more of during the home stretch of the season. Now, to speak about the Sixers team as a whole, do want to highlight their depth chart overall. We heard from Daryl Morey himself wanting this injection of energy, injection of youth into this roster, and frankly, we've seen it. That I think what the story of the second half of the season, number one, will of course be the status of the stars. If Joel Embiid is able to play at a more regular rate, if Paul George can find a little bit of the version of himself that the Sixers believe they signed to a max contract this offseason. But the other key storyline is which of these guys will carve out long-term opportunities with the team. It feels like Daryl Morey bought several different lottery tickets here for guys that he believed can be long-term fits, and now it's time to see which of those pan out the right way. And to list off some of those names, we've talked plenty about Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre. I do want to continue giving my flowers for. I understand the shooting numbers are not as great as you'd expect, but the dude buckles it up and competes every single night. And he's also a guy that is playing for a contract at the season's conclusion. He does have a player option for next year for about $8 million. I would expect that he does opt out and seek either a long-term, a larger dollar figure deal there. So that will be a name to watch. Paul George, we've talked plenty about. Justin Edwards, a guy who's already seen his two-way contract upgraded to a standard deal. There is that additional season next year, the option on that as well. So that is a guy that will be sticking around. But what exactly his role will be interesting to see. That is something he is clearly playing for. Then looking a little deeper, Quentin Grimes will be a restricted free agent at the conclusion of this year, and a guy that I don't think the Sixers would have given up Caleb Martin and the 3 years remaining on very fair value on his contract if they did not believe Quentin Grimes could at least be signed to something comparable or could be a better fit for this franchise. That is absolutely a name to monitor moving forward. Looking a little deeper, we got guys like Ricky Council IV, who still has to find some way to carve out an individual lane for himself. Jared Butler, this is his first true chance at getting a standard NBA contract, a guy that I'm a believer in from a talent perspective and would love to see this. And this doesn't even show names like Lonnie Walker that have not been added yet. So there's a lot of moving parts on the Sixers team and a lot of guys with plenty to play for. We will see what this team is made of over these final 28 games. I'm not here to buy in and tell you that this is now this improbable championship run that this team is going to go on. But what I will say is this is not this one-year all-in push the way it is sometimes made out to be. If you can find some real deal long-term contributors out of this list of young options that you've now brought into the franchise to build on moving forward, as well as see a little bit of signs of life from Paul George, some sort of chemistry built with him with Joel Embiid, as well as Tyrese Maxey continuing to progress and show that he's growing in his evolution as a basketball player. Those are positive takeaways to have for next season. That's really the focus from here. You got to find some sort of springboard to launch off at the conclusion of this year to at least be in a better spot next year. That's going to be automatically helped by guys like Jared McCain coming back. Hopefully, a better injury situation with Joel Embiid and Paul George, as it does feel like even under their standards, the luck has been as bad as possible. But the bottom line is these games do still count. They have to buckle up and compete, and we will see ultimately what the team looks like on the floor. So let me know what you guys think of each of these updates in the comments. What would you do with kind of the Quentin Grimes or Lonnie Walker type role? Let me give your ideal starting Sixers five for the second half of the season as all these new faces begin to settle in. So drop those comments below. As always, appreciate each and one of you guys tuning into this video. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop a like here. I'll be back talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.